we did tell the people we were going to talk about the saga of Nico Imaleava. How in the world did I mess up his first name and not Iamaleava? What the hell is that? Good Lord.
Got him.
Okay. So if you didn't follow this story, effectively what happened was that Nico Imaleava had signed a contract to play for $2 million for the Tennessee Volunteers. After last year, a year in which Nico Imaleava was good, not great, but good, he asked to double that NIL pay up to $4 million. The University of Tennessee NIL Collective was effectively unwilling to negotiate with Nico, so Nico pulled an NFL move and decided to hold out. He skipped out on practices last Friday that led up to Tennessee's spring game on Saturday. Josh Heupel said, yep, we're not doing that, and kicked him out and off of the football game. Now, there's a lot of other rumors that are in play. There is the rumor that the NIL Collective specifically asked Heupel to get rid of Nico Imaleava. There's another report that the seniors on the Tennessee Volunteer Football Program collectively went to Josh Heupel, the head coach, and said, hey, if he's not in with us, we're not in with him. And that was the reasoning. Regardless of why Nico Imaleava was removed from the Tennessee football program, he did put his name into the transfer portal, and there were reportedly a few teams that were indeed interested in Nico Iamaleava. However, none of them were interested in paying Nico more than $1 million a year. The newest report is that the front runners to land Nico Imaleava are Cody Decker's UCLA Bruins, who were willing to pay him more than $1 million per year in NIL, but that is partially because with the California state income tax, Nico's final payout was going to be less than $960,000 per year. Tennessee does not have a state income tax, meaning that Nico cost himself about $1.1 million of guaranteed money by not showing up to the Tennessee Volunteer Football Program. My take on it was this, Cody Decker. Just like with everything else, it may not be perfect up front, but there are going to be elements of the situation that allow it to police themselves. Tennessee was the first program that said, yeah, we're not giving you everything that you want. There's the other angle of this, which is Nico Imaleava does not have an agent. That was the big concern when we had this conversation last week, Deck, was I think I heard, I'm trying to remember, I think it was Jay Paterno who said a couple of days ago, when you inject this much money into the situation, the scumbags come out of the woodworks to get their piece of the pie. Well, it turns out Nico Imaleava has some advisors, but he does not have an agent. It seems like the key decision maker, the chief decision maker, the final decision maker, and everything connected to Nico Imaleava is his dad. And it was his dad that ultimately handled the situation, told him how to handle the situation, and effectively got him booted off of the team when it was all said and done. Look, Nico, as I said last week, had every right to ask for more money. Tennessee had every right to say, no, you're not getting any more money. In fact, we don't want you here anymore. That was a risk Nico Imaleava and his father took. I suspect that college football players in the future are going to spend a lot more time making sure they know who is surrounding them, who is providing them with advice, who is making decisions for and with them. And that includes being careful about allowing your parents to step in and make decisions on your behalf. The whole situation, Deck, is a lot uglier than it needed to be. And at the end of the day, there is only one person that I feel bad for in this whole situation, and that is Nico Imaleava, because it feels like a helicopter dad was the chief catalyst in this situation. It feels like Tennessee had to do what's best for Tennessee, and I can't blame them for that. And it feels like UCLA is going to get a highly touted recruit, got a lot of polish left to add, but get a pretty good quarterback out of the deal. The only person I feel any sympathy for here, Cody Decker, is Nico Imaleava, who just lost out on $1 million+ because of the decisions made by all of the supposed to be adults in the room.
Let's start with the initial thing out front. We talked about it last week at length, and we went into detail about how NCAA, shame on you. You should punch yourself in the face daily for not putting any safeguards or guardrails into place at any point. You just opened up the floodgates and allowed everything to happen. This is something, by the way, we knew was going to happen eventually. It was only a matter of time. Why? Because it's happening in the NFL all the time. Why wouldn't it happen to a place that has absolutely no rules? That being said, NCAA shoulders a lot of blame in this. Tennessee, you better believe you shoulder a lot of blame in this, because again, I keep looking back to what I said last week. Who released those reports? Who leaked out the report that the seniors wanted it gone? Who leaked out the report that the NIL collective wanted them gone? Because those, by the way, are two very conflicting reports that absolutely came from the same source. So, Tennessee, you don't look good either. Nico's dad, dear God, daddy ball, get out of here. You don't belong anywhere near making decisions for your son. This is not what you do. You're a dad. You should be supportive. You should be about as useful as a chair. You should be as noticeable as a chair. I should never notice you or have to even know your name, and I hate that I know your name. Nico, I feel bad for you. You're a 20-year-old kid who's clearly being lulled into a lot of different directions right now, and I don't necessarily blame you for trying to get more money. The problem I have is the messaging that's gotten out, the amount of nonsense, the BS that is getting pulled out there left and right. And there's a report out there because Nico did officially break his silence. Now, before we get to that, the breaking his silence, I just want to point out just how ugly this situation truly is for him, because he went from getting $2 million a year to what, $1.3 million a year. Do you know how much more expensive it is to live in Los Angeles? As a guy that's born and raised in Los Angeles, Santa Monica, by the way, arguably the most expensive place in Los Angeles. Do you know how much of an uptick percentage-wise it is to live in Los Angeles compared to Knoxville, Tennessee? Don't worry, I will tell you, 75% more expensive to live in Los Angeles than Tennessee. That's just living. That's not even counting the taxes that he's going to have to pay out of this NIL money, which I have to tell you is a lot more than Tennessee. So he's not only lost out on just straight up $1 million a year just on paper, he's actually lost out on probably another $500,000 a year on top of that. He's probably going to clear $400,000 to $500,000 when it's all said and done on this year at UCLA. I'm not mad about it. He's going to go play for my Bruins. My Bruins aren't a very good football team year in, year out. Deshaun Foster last year only had one thing to say about his program. We're in LA. USC's there. That was it. That's all the guy knows about Los Angeles. Seems to be a bit of a problem over there. So I'm glad we got a quarterback. UCLA hasn't had a top-notch quarterback ever. And those of you that are trying to yell Nick Hundley to me or Josh Rosen, slap yourself in the face real quick. I'll give you a second. Stop it. Stop it. You know you're lying to yourself. We knew what they were when they were at UCLA. Just because you convinced yourself they were better, that's not my problem. This is an actual quarterback coming to play for UCLA. I'm excited to see it. The only things that have really bothered me about this is the ongoing mudslinging. And to be fair, none of it has really been coming from Nico's side. There is a reporter named Josh Pate, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, who's put out a lot of statements saying that this is where this is all coming from. I'm quoting Josh Pate here. This stuff was happening last December during the playoffs with this kid included, but not just this kid. They were trying to get more money from Tennessee and other playoff teams before the playoffs. They were trying to leverage playoff participation. The explainer was, our client is being paid X amount of money to participate in 12 games, maybe a 13th if you make the conference championship game. But you guys made the playoff. He should make money. That's the quote. This is the kind of BS that's happening behind the scenes right now. Now, Nico has come out and said everything this guy is saying is absolutely false. He's saying, I did not try to sit out a playoff game. I did not try to sit out a championship game. And as sure as hell didn't try to throw anything. Dude, all I can say is this has gotten ugly to the ugliest of degrees. And yes, I think a lot of people are going to need to step in. If our government wasn't such a mess, I'd honestly say the government should step in. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen. And we're left with the NCAA only policing itself. You know, they're really great at that.
Yeah, I've had a couple of different thoughts on this whole story, Decker. I have included one of them, which is, I think, even though it will not be, they can't make it mandatory like they do in the NFL, the MLB, the NBA, whatever. I think the next step, if the NCAA really truly wants to curb this, is create some sort of educational and registrative process for agents, and allow agents voluntarily to go through this process and to truly get educated by the NCAA and by their legal department and all that. Here are the best ways that you can not just be a good agent, but be a good consultant for these student athletes. Prepare a list of agents who have willingly and voluntarily gone through this process, and then distribute that to every athlete in the NCAA and say, look, if you're going to get into NIL, and you all have the right to do so, here are the people that we endorse, that we have educated, that know the system, that have gone through, that have voluntarily done this, so they want to be able to be the best that they can be in this situation. And allow athletes to have access to a resource that says, these are the people that we trust to handle our business with you, because that's ultimately what it is. The reality of the situation, though, is you have to look at it as much as it may not feel like it's the right way to do it. You have to look at this with the same approach, Deck, that you and me and everybody else out here in the real world, the same processes that we have to go through when we switch jobs. I'm not at a point yet where it has become necessary for or profitable for me to get an agent. So if somebody calls me and they say, Rob Brown, we're interested in talking to you about a job, I have to do all the research on that. I need to ask all the right questions. I need to talk to the people that have worked with the possible new employer and for the network or for the station or whatever I'm considering moving. And then I have to go make the decision about, is it worth giving up what I have to move there and take this job? And understand that the repercussions, if I get that wrong, could be stark, right? I could lose money. I might get there and it turns out it's a bleep place to work. I might get there and it turns out that everyone hates that one manager that makes life hell. I might get there and find out that I have way more responsibilities added on to me than I've had in the past. That's how my life works. And that's how it works for college football players, even though the numbers being thrown about them are dramatically higher. This is why from the beginning, even I am pro NIL. I am pro the transfer portal. I am pro athletes having power and autonomy over their own lives and careers, etc. I'm pro all of those things. But this is why we argued from guidelines, for guideposts, for legislation from the very beginning, to prevent situations like this. It is ugly, and the only sympathy I have is for Nico Imaleava,